Hi, Brandon Lee here. I did my movie presentation on the movie Waiting for Superman. What is the movie about? The movie is a documentary that follows four students from the process of dealing with their poor education or mediocre education through the public schooling system, attempting to get them into a better option. In this case, it'd be charter schools. The basis of the movie is public education and the struggles with public schools. Some points brought out in the movie: No Child Left Behind, which presents a different problem of children who might not be doing as well as they could be, just kind of get pushed through the system so we can follow through with the No Children Left Behind. Another issue that they ran into throughout the movie was tenure teachers and the fact that they cannot be fired. Teachers throughout this movie have been pointed out that they have the right to this job. Once they have tenure, they feel that they cannot be fired for anything, and therefore they don't really, some of them don't seem to care about educating the children, and therefore some schools that these not so good teachers are at have been considered kind of like a dropout school. Children go there and there's a much less than 100% graduation rate. Some downwards under even 50%. Let's see. I did find out through this video that tenure teachers, like I said, have a very hard time being fired. It is possible, but not without a long, drawn-out process with specific timelines that the management or the principals or the superintendents of the schools must document multiple different instances just to get those those teachers released from their tenure and fired. Following that, this movie basically followed these four student children from different parts of the country, up in New York, down in Los Angeles, through their parents' struggles of dealing with the possibility of their children not learning enough, the parents' struggles of trying to get them a better education, whether it's driving 45 minutes across town or coming up with tuition just across the street for their children to get that better education with teachers that care about them and go to the extra lengths to make sure that they learn what they're supposed to learn. Some lessons that I learned from this video is that the public school system is having trouble getting students to learn at the grade level that they are supposed to be at. One of the charter school teachers pointed out the fact that when some of his students came into his charter school, they were sometimes 2 or 3 years behind where they're supposed to be. One of the focuses and basic points of the movie is presented by Bill Gates in the fact that the United States here cannot sustain an economy based on innovation unless we have citizens well educated in math, science, and engineering. That going back to the movie, if our children aren't learning at the level they're supposed to be at, then they won't be educated enough in these three subjects, math, science, and engineering, to get into the four-year colleges, which will essentially learn or get them the higher paying, higher quality jobs. It's stated in the movie that by the year 2020, there will be roughly 123 million American jobs that will require the high skill, and with that high skill will also receive a high pay. Of those 123 million jobs, only 50 million Americans will be qualified to fill them, which is where Bill Gates' kind of point came from, that we need to make sure we educate our children. Because of this lack of education through the public school system, parents throughout many places across the country are attempting to enroll their children in charter schools. A certain number of these charter schools have a better understanding of what the teachers need to be, and these teachers are very, very good at encouraging the students to learn and achieve the goals that they're supposed to. But because these are only very few, there's only so many spots open in the charter schools, and these parents that are trying to get their children to get a better education at these schools have to enroll their children in what's called a lottery. Basically, the children get their names thrown in a hat, and if their name happens to get drawn, then they get accepted into the school. The reason that the parents would prefer to have their children go to these specific charter schools is the school's basic philosophy of not letting any student fail. In some charter schools even, that when a student is falling behind, say in math or reading comprehension, they will be assigned a tutor, and that tutor will work with them until they get caught up with the rest of the class. Throughout all of the processes of dealing with the public school systems, the documentary people and the other principals trying to open up the charter schools have met with union obstacles basically at every turn. The union just doesn't want people to, basically, I understand they don't want to separate the union to get people to have different opinions and different views. Another one of the main focuses of the charter schools is to prepare students for a four-year college, essentially being able to teach them to get those higher skilled jobs with higher pay throughout the country. Some of the charter schools, for example, even propose entering the children into the charter schools shortly after birth. Let's see, labor trends that I noticed. The basic labor trend that I noticed came from the teachers' union. Mainly from the tenure of the teachers and the struggle of management dealing with the tenure and the union. Let's see, did the union represent the employees appropriately? According to the book, the union representation of employees appropriately dealt more with grievances. In this movie, there was no grievances that I could notice, so it really didn't apply to the question here. Taking the representing employees appropriately to a little different level, I would say that no, the union did not represent the employees appropriately. There was one specific instance where the new chancellor of Washington, D.C. school district offered the union a very unique opportunity for the teachers to either maintain their tenure and get a mild raise, or discontinue their tenure and have the opportunity to make approximately twice as much money based on merit. This leads up to where the potential ULP comes in, unfair labor practice. When the teachers union was given that opportunity for change, they did not even present it to the union members, so therefore it did not even make it to the voting process. So my opinion is they didn't represent them appropriately because they didn't let them know about their options. Essentially, the union was not willing to negotiate, which is where the ULP comes from. The last question was, was there any arbitration in this movie? And on this one, no, there was no arbitration in the movie, so that question doesn't have any bearing on this one. Alright, thanks for taking the time to watch my video.